I'd like to call this meeting to order, and we will be going directly into an election for chair and acting chair. I will just give the land acknowledgement for today. The TNRD acknowledges that we connect with many First Nations communities across our vast regional district, and today we are located on the Kamloops to Secwépemc territory, situated within the unceded ancestral lands of the Secwépemc Nation. The TNRD appreciates the partnership that we have with the Kamloops to Secwépemc and respect the territory and land on which we gather today. And I will pass the floor over to Manager Jeremiah. Thank you.
Thank you. As set out in the Hospital District Act, the Local Government Act, and the TRHD Board Procedure Bylaw, we will now carry out the election of chair for the Thompson Regional Hospital District. Nominations will be called 3 times. As candidates are nominated, they will be asked if they consent to the nominations. Nominations will then be closed. If there is only one consenting candidate, that candidate will be acclaimed chair. If there are 2 or more consenting candidates, each candidate will be given 2 minutes to say a few words if they wish before the ballots are distributed. For those attending via Zoom, please text our CAO, Mr. Hildebrand, who will capture your vote. All votes are confidential and results will be announced once the vote is complete. I will now call for nominations for the position of chair. First call for nominations for the office of chair.
I would like to nominate Director O'Reilly as chair of the Regional Hospital District for another term.
Director O'Reilly, do you consent to the nomination?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Second call for nominations for the office of chair. And third call for nominations for the office of chair. I declare the nominations closed for the office of chair. Director O'Reilly is acclaimed. Congratulations. Okay, so now we will call for the position of acting chair. Once again, nominations will be called 3 times. As candidates are nominated, they will be asked if they consent to the nomination. Nominations will then be closed. I will now call for nominations for the position of acting chair.
I'd like to nominate Director Blackwell.
Director Blackwell, do you consent to the nomination?
I consent.
Okay. Second call for nominations for the office of acting chair. And third call for nominations for the office of acting chair. Okay, I declare the nominations closed for the office of acting chair, and Director Blackwell is acclaimed. Congratulations.
Did we have or need a second for acting chair? If
The nominations don't need to be seconded.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. We will move right into today's agenda. We'll start with if there's any additions or deletions from the agenda. Seeing nothing in the room, nothing online, we'll continue on. I would like to acknowledge that we do have Directors Demare, Birch-Jones, and Simpson joining us online, and Director McNary's here in person over at the staff desk on the side there. Thank you. We can move into recommendation for minutes for December 11th.
Move the recommendation.
Moved by Director Blackwell, second by Director Middleton. All in favor? Contrary minded? That's carried. Thank you. And we will go into delegations. The Kamloops Brain Injury Association. We have Dave Johnson here. And Dave, I saw you walking across Victoria Street with looked like a banker's box or 2 a couple days ago. So glad you could join us here in person. And I understand it's been a tough week for you. So thank you for being able to be here.
Thank you very much, Mike, and everyone else. Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, we did have a fire next door, and the Kamloops Fire people were amazing. We have a faint touch of smoke. And I can't park in the back. That's my only problem, which is amazing. So they did great work. Thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Dave Johnson. I'm from the Kamloops Brain Injury Association. And again, thank you very much for having me. What I'd like to do today is tell you a little about what we do, where we do it, and why you all might care. And I do very much appreciate your time, so I'll keep it short. And if you have any questions, I understand there may be space for that. What we do at the Kamloops Brain Injury Association is we support people who've had a brain injury to maintain their independence. So that might be, most common cause is car accident, strokes, and falls. And what we do is we'll provide one-on-one support if it's approved for medical reasons. We have a couple of different funding sources, so we have to get funding approval on that. A lot of what we do is help them navigate the systems. We know in Canada we have really quite remarkable world-class support systems for people in trouble. But until you've used them, you don't know anything about them. And after a brain injury, you may have cognitive problems. So you got to figure out a new, weird, bureaucratic system when your head's all messed up. That's what we're there for. We'll help you get through that. We'll provide some of the support ourselves, and we'll get you to the right people for other support. We sometimes refer to other places. We get referrals from other people, and that's going to be a theme today, and I'll just be upfront. I'm asking you to send people with brain injuries to us. We also do a lot of educational work. There's no cure for brain injury. The only thing you can do is prevent it, so we go to a lot of schools. That's going to be my other theme today. We want to stop the brain injuries happening. We want to make ourselves unemployed. We do a lot of skill building workshops for people who had an injury. Maybe they've lost their skills or they need new ones, and we do some counseling. Okay. Nope. All right. Am I supposed to be pointing? There we go. So half of what we do is service provision. The other half is we're an association. You could say we're a social club, and that'd be fair. Yeah. So this picture here, this is up at Paul Lake. We do a lot of barbecues, which are a lot of fun. We have a big Christmas party. We do have something called Community Kitchen, where we go and make meals together. That's partly, if you've forgotten how to cook after your injury, we'll teach you again. And sometimes you never knew how to cook, and we're going to teach you for the first time. Peer drop-in, just hang out with other folks with brain injuries. Headbangers Anonymous, that was the survivor's choice. I think it's a good one. It's a music group. So yeah, this is part of what we do. It's providing a place where people with brain injuries can hang out with people they're comfortable with. We do believe that this is a public-private partnership. We hustle for our money. This is the turtle race. Many of you are familiar with it. It's been here for 25 years. We've been running it for the last couple. Please buy tickets, but we recognize that we need to do some work here to fund this. We're not just coming here and saying, hey, give us money, government. So this is something we do. We also do the Gersing golf tournament that's been around for quite a while. Many people will be familiar with that. So that's a little bit about us. What we do with survivors. Our education is something, we're educating survivors about their injury, but we also go to schools. And I'm going to mention up Clearwater because we've had a great connection up with the Clearwater Elementary School. We've done bike rodeos. We connected up with the RCMP there. And teaching kids, go out, have fun, do those athletic things, play those sports, but be sensible about it. Learn when, is this a good risk or a bad risk? Yeah, there's head injuries in hockey, in the NHL. If you guys wear a helmet and get out there and play, you're going to have fun. So we're very pro sports, but also teaching them how to do it well. That last word, free. Because we sell tickets at the turtle race, we can do this for free. So if any of you have a school in your area and you want us to come, please reach out to us. Get the principal or the teachers to give us a call. We'll make it work. And we always take survivors with us because their story comes better from them. People believe it more than it comes from somebody who doesn't have a brain injury maybe and is just talking about it. So that's another one of the big things we do. It actually says, why does the TNRD care? Well, I'll try and tell you why you should care. Our region, despite our name being Kamloops Brain Injury, we cover from Clearwater down to Merritt, Ashcroft over to Chase. It's not exactly the TNRD, but it's a big piece of the TNRD. So we're there for your people, okay? We also know the rural areas are underserved. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone in this room, but we know that. We know that there's brain injuries out there. We're not seeing enough of them. We're not getting the referrals. The people don't know we're here, or they're not being sent forward by their GPs or people in the community. And so that's one thing I'll ask of you. If you've got someone out there that you're like, I think they got a brain injury and they need help, that's us. Send them in. You can either tell them to contact us or you can email us or call us and say, hey, I've got this person. What can we do? Another part of it, and this links into you folks, IHA pays for about 40% of my budget, okay? That means that this is an IHA service. We're supposed to go out there and see them. But if we don't hear about them or know they're there, there's not a lot we can do. So if you can find them or tell your local GP in Clearwater or Merritt or whatever, hey, are you referring them? Please do that. That helps. We also sometimes help your bylaws team. Won't go into names, but there was this one guy, bylaws said, basically, we're getting complaints, your property's a mess. He's like, no, my property's just fine. I went on Google Earth. I could see he was a hoarder from space. It was a mess. So what we did is we contacted him and we had a chat because we have a relationship with him. We know how brain injury affected him. And we're like, hey, you know, the bylaws guys, what can we do? And we're able to help make it easier for bylaws to get the property where it needed to be. So that's something we can do to help out, and it helps out everyone involved. And again, the school visits, I know I've mentioned schools a couple times. I'm going to do it again. If you have a school that would like to have somebody come and present, and again, the rural schools don't always get as many visitors as the one in the city, we're happy to do that. Okay, challenges. Well, again, some of the stuff you're going to be familiar with. There's an awful lot of space in the TNRD. IHA will pay our mileage, but they won't pay my staff time. So if I send somebody up to Clearwater, 90 minutes there, you meet for 30 minutes, 90 minutes back, IHA will pay me for the mileage the car did, pardon me. They won't pay me for the staff time. And strangely, my staff think they should get paid. So we do use Zoom or Teams or just regular phone calls a lot, and that can work really well. That's one of our solutions. But when we can, if we can book 3 people on Clearwater in a day, we'll do that and get up there. Mental health, addictions, and dementia. These are all things that are in your brain. They're not technically brain injuries. And so if you're not an expert, what's the difference between a mental health problem and a weird behavior because somebody got hit in the head? Here's the thing, we can't work with these. We're not the specialists, but we know who are. So if you send somebody in and we say, actually, this isn't brain injury, it's addictions or it's dementia, we will still refer them to the right people to get them the help. So you don't have to decide. You're just like, I think there's something going on with their brain. Give KBI a call and we'll see what we can do to get them the right person. Again, there's no cure to brain injury. That's why we're big on prevention. That's why we want to talk to the kids. The last one, this is a little bureaucratic, but well, hey, that's what we are. If you get a brain injury, so I'm going to pick on Mike. Let's say Mike and I have exactly the same symptoms. You're the chair, you get to live with it. He and I have the same symptoms, but he got his in a car crash and I got mine shoveling snow at home. He's going to get the gold standard. ICBC and their new thing, they put a lot of money behind injuries. He's going to get private physiotherapy and occupational therapy and all this sort of stuff. Me, I wasn't in a car accident and I also wasn't at work. WorkSafe is the silver standard. They're in between. I'm going into the regular IHA system and I won't get all that stuff, or there'll be much longer waits. And so sometimes you'll be like, well, this guy's got a brain injury. Why is he not getting all this other stuff that the other person isn't? How you got your injury determines your treatment, not just what your injury is. How to refer? If you know somebody, you can tell them to give us a call or just show up at the office. It's usually best to give a call so we can make sure that we have an appointment, we have staff available to work with them. Or you, or maybe someone on your team can call us, send us an email, let us know what sort of services they're looking for, if you can. What's the nature of the injury? If you have that, if you don't, it's okay. We'll still try and help it out, but it just makes it go faster. And if there's any medical documentation, we love seeing that. So with all that said, we're here. Despite our name, we actually cover most of the TNRD. We know there's people with brain injuries out there that we aren't hearing about. If you know about them, please send them our way because we want to help them out. It is IHA funded, so we're supposed to do it with the money that you're voting towards interior health. So please take advantage of it. So with that, is there a space for questions or how's that work?
Absolutely. There's time for questions and I see a fair amount of hands going up around the table. We'll start with Director Thorpe, Director Newstater, and Director Onslow. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Director Thorpe.
So question, you said you don't cover a lot of the TNRD. What about when I look at this, I see Ashcroft. So what about south of Ashcroft? What about like down in towards Lytton? What about over to Lillooet? How about up north to Clinton, that area? What do we do?
So Lillooet is, believe it or not, coastal health, which is, and it's the very edge of their territory, and we end up covering a lot of stuff for them anyways. One of the challenges, as you know, Lytton's not a big city. There's not a lot of services there, but we do phone consults and advise people, hook them up with what services there are. Ashcroft, we did have somebody with Spence's Bridge that we helped out. The area between Hope and Spence's Bridge is technically not covered by anyone, which is an issue. And what was the other area?
I was talking about a little bit to the north, Clinton up that
Right.
way.
There is a new group that we helped set up called the Caribou Brain Injury Association. Technically, Williams Lake covers all that. It is still interior health. It's done by Canadian Mental Health out of Williams Lake. Again, send them to us and we'll connect them to the right person.
Okay, so those people around Lytton, they're kind of out of luck?
I don't know who
Because
technically.
I
covers it.
accidentally took out a monk one Christmas and he had a brain injury. He slipped on my step.
Yeah. We have a contract with Interior Health. We don't cover that. I would put that question to Interior Health and say, who covers Lytton?
Thank you for that. And certainly the TRHD is fairly complex, that we actually go over 3 health authorities, even though the actual operational dollars aren't falling within the privy of this board. It's the capital funding. And so it is complex. And as you mentioned for coastal, but we're also on Shuswap on the other side. And so it's a very diverse group here. But I would like to just move online to Director Birch Jones before Onslow. So if we can go to Director Birch Jones.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the work you're doing. I just wanted to confirm that you're saying that Lillooet is covered by Vancouver Coastal, because I do believe that Interior Health covers the Lillooet area. I understand if we're too far, you're not reaching out. So I guess I want to confirm that you don't provide services to Lillooet.
Thank you. And I'll just hold off for a second. I have Karen Cooper from Interior Health right behind you that I think may want to comment to help clarify. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the questions. And so absolutely, Lillooet is in interior health. And so how we manage brain injury in interior health is, and thank you for the partnership with the Kamloops Brain Injury Association, is we have 3 specialty population programs, of which acquired brain injury is one, and it's under the umbrella of our home and community care services. So the first door in for navigating brain injury within interior health is typically a referral from a primary care provider or a clinician within the community system to the acquired brain injury program. It's managed centrally out of Kelowna, but there are resources in every corner of interior health specific to supporting those with acquired brain injury, from nursing to PT to OT. And I would argue we're as gold standard as ICBCs. Thanks.
Thank you for that. I have Directors Onslow, McNary, Newstater. Director Onslow.
Thank you, and thank you for your presentation. I just wanted to give you a fun fact, is that you actually get all of the elementary students from Blue River to the bike rally in Clearwater, and it's appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Director McNary.
Well, my questions are answered. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Newstater.
Thank you, Chair. If we're talking about gold standards, you certainly are one of those. Kamloops in our region is better off and people are better cared for because of KBIA, and with such respect for your organization and what you do, and also the humor that you do with it. I'm always struck whenever I'm in your office. You know, this week I had a chance to pop in there and have a chat with one of your groups that was meeting. So welcoming, so warm, consistently, so full of life and vibrancy for people who otherwise would be on their own, struggling through these things. times not knowing what to do, and in a very dark space, in a very dark time, often when there's a brain injury. I wonder if we could just ask you a little bit about how the landscape of your work has changed with the opioid crisis and the overdose crisis that's happening. It's a challenging subject, but certainly one that looks different for the work that you engage in than it would have a decade ago, 15 years ago, especially with those repeat overdoses. That is a brain injury often that results from that crisis as well. So I wonder if you could just talk a little bit about the increased workload, the changes in people, and how you guys address that really challenging brain injury.
Sure. The number of brain injuries due to opioids has risen, and a lot of this is because of naloxone. It rescues people before they die, but that often catches in that period where they will now have a brain injury. Our workload has not really increased very much at Counts Brain Injury, and the reason I believe is that most of the folks, if you're heavily engaged in your addiction, something bad happens, you still keep being engaged with your addiction, so they're not seeking help. So we're not seeing very many of this type of brain injury, but other sectors of the system, especially the prison system, definitely are. I know that the MHSU is the mental health and substance use unit over at IHA. They are seeing a lot more of this. And as long as their primary challenge is their addiction, they're not seeking help on the other challenges. So it's absolutely risen, but it's not landing in our backyard, my agency's backyard too much yet.
Thank you, Director Sarai.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Dave, for the work you do in your association. You mentioned something, you did some referrals for mental health and addiction that come to you, or you send them out to referrals. I'm just curious, that stream that you send them in, do you see some success there, or do these individuals be sent there and then you don't hear back? I'd like to know if there's anything else we can do to help that stream.
That's a good question. So as you mentioned, one of the best ways to get a referral is from a primary care physician, but Interior Health is open to people like ourselves sending referrals in, and we are able to do referrals directly to Interior Health, including mental health and substance use. There have been some successes, but it is an incredibly challenging area. And as you might imagine, if somebody's got addictions issues plus brain injury issues, and then throw in a little bit of mental health, those are incredibly complex cases. So any successes there are remarkable. There unfortunately aren't a lot because it's tough. I don't have any particular advice on how you might be able to assist with that. I'm sorry. Yeah.
And Director Middleton to close.
Thank you. And thanks for the great work you do for our community and surrounding areas. Do you interface at all with any of the larger sports organizations within our region? Thinking, I mean, concussion was one of your items on brain injury that you sort of list as perhaps, educational opportunities and information being pushed out to like our soccer associations and hockey associations and football clubs and whatnot, where concussion is probably one of the greater risks and the higher, seen injuries is in our youth sports, specifically related to concussions. Do you, or have you been invited or asked by any of these organizations to come in and give presentation or sort of not so much advisement, but just awareness back to those communities?
Did someone prep you for me on that one? Yeah, so last night we were presenting to the Kamloops Minor Hockey Association. The sports community, there's a lot of support out there from different organizations. Parachute Canada, Steve Poborski, some of you might remember him, the skier. He has a great program there nationally, but we do reach out in the summer. A lot of soccer camps have us in. But again, we will talk happily to anybody who will listen to us about brain injury. So if you've got any sports group that would like us to come and present, please contact us and we would love to get out there. And yes, we are doing that. Thank you.
Well, and thank you again for your good work. And no, I wasn't prompted. It was just, it's always, I've been involved in the sporting community and it's always top of mind. So thank you again for the work that you do.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Dave, thank you for coming in today. Really appreciative, I think, for the entire region. And please keep us in mind. I know your Turtle River race is coming up in a few months. Feel free to send people over here during a board meeting, and I think you may have some interested people that would be interested in participating in that. So
Thank you very much.
thank you. Thank you so much. All right, we will move into unfinished business. Seeing none, thank you. We will carry on into bylaws 8.1. And we have a recommendation in front of us.
Move recommendation 1.
Moved by Director Roden, second by Director Blackwell. Discussion. We have Director Birch Jones with their hand up. Would you like to comment, or is it still up, Director Birch Jones?
Thank you very much, Chair. No, it's a new hand related to the bylaw, and I just had some questions about the clause 11.1 and also 25.5. In 11.1, it says that if a member is absent from board meetings for whichever of the following, and A is 60 consecutive days. But I believe with our schedule, we sometimes have 60 consecutive days in between our meetings. So I wonder if we want to change that. But the one that really jumped out at me is the 25. Let's see. Bear with me. A member may attend a maximum of 2 regular and 2 closed board meetings by electronic means per calendar year. I find coming in by Zoom extremely convenient, and it saves the TNRD some travel expenses, never mind the carbon footprint and just, hours of travel for a couple of hours of meeting. And Director Demare and Simpson, I think, are even farther in terms of travel time. So I wonder if we can allow for more. Is there a problem with us attending on Zoom frequently? I don't see one. So I'm wondering why we want to have that rule.
Thank you for those comments. And certainly that was something that we kind of had a little bit of an idea may come up for conversation. This procedural bylaw was intended to follow the TNRD procedural bylaw that we just updated this term as well. And I'm going back to conversations around the TNRD board. It was more, okay, we kind of wanted everybody in the room to be part of the process. But knowing full well that, as you mentioned, for the RHD, it is different and bigger. And that's something I think that this board can discuss. Is that important to this board that we want the external directors the furthest out, that it does make it harder for them to come in, to have to be here? Or do we find their participation enough for this board that we want to see? And certainly there is no firm direction, I don't think, from either side. I think it's an open floor, an open conversation on this. But again, it was to basically copy what the TNRD was, and that's how we ended up to where we're at. So I will leave it up to the directors to further discussion. I also have directors Demare and Simpson, sorry.
Demare, Simpson, and
oh, sorry, I don't see him on the screen. But so I have Demare, Simpson, Roden. So if you're okay, we'll move on to Demare, and then if somebody wants to put a motion forward at some point, by all means we can. Oh, sorry, I have Director Jeremiah.
Oh, thank you. I've been promoted.
it's a demotion.
In response to the attendance, the term between meetings, the 60 days for directors not attending. So that is in the legislation, that's in the Local Government Act. That is, it's whatever's the greater of. So while we do have the 60 days in between meetings, it can be exceeded. It could be, I think there's another number as well that's associated with that. So it's whatever is the greater of. So I believe it's 4 meetings or 60 days, if that provides clarification on that one, on item 11.
And I'm just going to pass it over to Director Roden before we go to Demare Online. She wanted to comment on the 60 days. Thank you.
Yeah, just looking at it, it says that, yes, it is the 60 consecutive days or 4 consecutive meetings, whichever is the longer time period. So the 4 consecutive meetings could be over 180 days. So I think that answers Director Birch-Jones's concern regarding the time limit.
Thank you. Director Demare.
Thank you. I currently have been going back and forth to the hospital with a family issue, and it is basically 4 to 4.5 hour drive each way. And for a 2 hour meeting, in the end, it's not really worth my while, unfortunately. So, yeah, I'd like to see this change for sure. You know,
Thank you for those comments. Director Simpson.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I'm in agreement with Director Birch-Jones and Demare. I'm not certainly as far out as Director Demare is, but it's certainly much more valuable for me to spend time this way. I recognize that trying to align the regulations with your TNRD board meetings is valuable and valid. I certainly see that there's more, in at least at the CSRD, there's much more business being done at the CSRD board meeting than typically is done here. And I think that there's ample opportunity for us to have our opinions noted through the Zoom. So I don't see that there's a reason to require the 2 meeting limit there.
Thank you. And I have Directors Middleton and Newstater. Director Middleton.
Thank you. And I just wonder if it needs to be or could be written in or whatever, that the exception to this are for hospital district directors who are not TNRD directors be permitted, you know, by Zoom, in a sense that the ones that are generally coming in by Zoom are not directors that sit on the TNRD board. And that's, I think, where the issue is a little bit, is not going to come all the way in for a 2 hour meeting. Most, you know, the rest of us sitting here are coming in for multiple or back-to-back meetings, which makes that time more valuable. So maybe there should just be some language in there regarding what are considered to be non-TRD directors who are directors of the Regional Hospital District Board. We have a bit of language in there to permit maybe unlimited Zoom meetings.
I'll pass it over to Manager Jeremiah to comment on that before anything gets brought forward. Manager.
Ultimately, I think the intent of in-person meetings is the collaboration, the relationship building between directors, and an opportunity for members of the public attending to have that ability to have that in-person collaboration with directors. That being said, with our 4 external directors, if they do choose to, or if the board chooses to make that amendment to allow for strictly strictly online or virtual attendance, that is something that we can amend, but that would be at the will of the entire board.
Thank you. Director Roden wants to chime in here. Thank you.
Thank you. I just asked that same question, Director Middleton, so thank you. Perhaps 25.5 could be altered to read, a member who is also a director of the Thompson-Nicola Regional District may attend a maximum of 2 regular meetings. Because generally TNRD directors are here for hospital board meetings on the same day as other meetings, so we have an incentive to be here, even if it is a long drive. I know that for Director Onslow, it's a 2.5 hour one-way trip. But when you're coming in for another meeting or a series of meetings, then obviously that's worthwhile.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Jeremiah,
Correct.
is that?
And certainly that is intentional. If that's a motion that wants to be put forward before we hear from the rest of the directors, you may do that, or do we want to hear from
I'll
the rest of the
second that.
directors? Okay, so we have a motion by Director Roden, second by Director R. Smith, and we will open the floor to discussion. And from what I understand, the motion is to allow any directors not in the TNRD to be able to participate virtually year round. And Director Newstater on the motion.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure that creating a tiered system is the way that I necessarily would have gone. I think that equal application makes maybe more sense, but I can support that if those who are most impacted feel like it would create a solution for sure. But I guess I am curious what their thoughts are. I think the intention of the motion is to say, or sorry, of the original bylaw is to get us in the room together, make sure that that's possible. So I'm wondering whether instead it should be an inversion and there should be an expectation for how many each person attends. So maybe it is one per year in person as opposed to open-ended. If the board is comfortable with saying if someone is never able to attend in person, that's not an expectation, I guess that's something to talk about. But we are saying, because I think what they're asking is completely reasonable and fair, and we have good systems now. It's not like Zoom isn't effective, so I think that's all very reasonable. But I'm wondering if we're saying there is no expectation to be in person, and I don't think I'll argue it if the rest of the board supports saying we're going to have a two-tiered system, but it's just not necessarily the approach I would have taken. But I'd like to hear whether that achieves the objectives of those who are most impacted.
Thank you. And I have Manager Jeremiah.
Thank you for that feedback. And speaking with CAO Hildebrand, would it be with that one meeting, would it be, could we consider a one meeting and that meeting be the one in-person meeting be the inaugural meeting, as we would be electing a chair and acting chair for that matter?
Thank you for those comments, and I'll continue on to the board. I have Director Birch Jones, Director Bass. Director Birch Jones.
Thank you. I think since the inaugural meeting usually falls in the winter, I don't think that would be a great idea for travel. I would much rather be there in person, but as a member with the SLRD, the schedule, the way it comes, for example, this year, the December meeting for this group falls on the same day as our board meeting with the SLRD. You know, our two groups aren't that well aligned, and we are, you know, by far the smaller number, and so the schedule certainly isn't set up to meet our needs, but we attend as much as we can, and I like to be able to participate this way. And yes, I would much rather be there in person, but I appreciate what's being suggested here without having us expelled after missing meetings. I like coming in on Zoom, and I think that it works well. And I appreciate if we can be allowed to continue. Thank you. Support the motion.
Thank you for those comments. We'll go to Director Bass.
Thank you. Just a comment. We're spending an awful lot of time talking about having bodies in this room. We're not talking about the participation that we want. So I see absolutely nothing wrong with with your motion, because the value is the participation and hearing their voices, not seeing them sitting in a chair.
Thank you. Director Middleton.
My comment was already echoed, and that was that the inaugural meeting's in the wintertime, and that's the worst time to travel in our province. So I would not want to see us move towards trying to push directors to travel in on sketchy roads, dark highways. And, and a lot of times that isn't even seasonal anymore. We have so many issues with road closures and stuff happening out there in our province that anytime I think that we can avoid the travel scenario is a win.
Thank you for that. Yes, sorry.
I'm not sure what the original motion was. Does it have the word optional in there? Because I think that they should have the option to come in person or via Zoom.
Yes, Manager Jeremiah.
We can include the word optional if you'd like to do that as a friendly amendment
Friendly
to Chair
amendment.
Roden's amendment.
Yes, and the seconder, Director R. Smith, are you okay with that friendly amendment? Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, thank you for that. And I think and I have Demare, and then I will provide some commentary and then we'll call the vote. Oh, sorry, yeah. Director Demare.
Yeah, thank you. One of the issues for whoever the director is out here, way out in the Bridge River Valley, is the time to get up to even travel to make a 10 o'clock meeting, find parking and all the rest of it. And so you can imagine, you know, you're getting up at 3:34 to get yourself ready to leave, to get there by early enough to participate in the meeting. You know, if the meetings were at a later date, I could see coming to one of the meetings. But the way it is set up right now, it just basically makes it impossible. And then on top of it, then we get into all the SLRD meetings also, which also require for Area A in the wintertime, it's a 3.5 hour drive. So you can see the situation that we're put in because we're basically in the middle of nowhere with only one road in the wintertime, which is a treacherous road on top of it.
Yeah, thank you, Director Demare. I have myself, Director O'Connor, Director Lepso, and I think a couple of things I'd like to acknowledge on the scheduling side. It is difficult, and we certainly do try and work with our other regional district director members here as far ahead as we can and try and make sure that the changes don't happen. And so we do try to work hard, and I hope that you guys feel that we do, because we don't have a meeting for the most part if we can't include everybody, and our staff do work very hard at that. And I think as chair, whoever sits in this seat over the years, it's manageable, and the participation has been mentioned. It's been very good participation from the members online for this term, and it really seems to be working well. Would I love to see you in person? Absolutely, but this is working for the function, I think, of what we need to achieve with this board. So that is my comments. We will go to Director O'Connor. Director Lepso.
Yeah, thank you. I see the value of meeting at least once a year in person. And because when I see, I'm going to direct my comments to the Zoom people, like you are in Zoom land. We have kind of discussions personally when we're here outside of the actual meeting, and you, when you're on Zoom, you miss out on some of the discussions. So I would be in favor of at least once a year, seeing your lovely faces and getting a chance to have a cup of coffee with you personally. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Newsair.
Yeah, thanks. And I just want to clarify, when I talked about the two-tier, I also worry about driving in from Blue River in the winter, and I worry about, you know, Linton and the problems with the roads. So that's why I brought up maybe equal application, is because I'm concerned about the same things, and wonder whether that limits us. And again, that's getting up extremely early in the morning, driving in the dark, all of those pieces. So just wanted to clarify.
Okay, seeing no further comments and nobody online, corporate officer Jeremiah, and I've been calling you 3 different titles today. Could we get you to read back the motion as it is right now and with the friendly amendment? Thank you.
I'm doing this on the fly right now, so please bear with me. So we will be amending section 25.5 to allow the external members to participate electronically, to have the option to participate electronically on an annual basis.
Thank you for that. And so with that, I will call the vote. All in favor as amended? Sorry, with the amendment. Do you want to count or are you good? Good, okay.
We're good, thank you.
All opposed? Any? Okay. Let the record note that Director Lepso is opposed, and I don't see anybody else opposed. Thank you. Okay, so we have an amended, sorry, just 1 second here. I want to make sure we're on the same page. We have recommendation 1 that has now been amended. And any further discussion on the amended motion on recommendation 1? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none online opposed, that's carried unanimously. Thank you. We have a second recommendation. Moved by Director Middleton, second by Director Sarai. All in favor? Thank you. And we have a third recommendation. Moved by Director Blackwell, second by Director Hall. All in favor? Thank you. And I would just like to mention as well, appreciate the heads up from communication from directors letting us know that this was a concern before it came here. So staff were able to actually figure out how this may go and what channels we could go. And I think that made this go a lot smoother than had we not had any of these conversations ahead of time and no. So thank you for that. So that being said, we have a new procedural bylaw in place and we will move into 9.1. And we have Interior Health Director of Business Operations, Dan Goner. And Dan, I believe you are online today and I see Director Cooper as well taking the podium. So I will let you take it as needed. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair O'Reilly. Yes, I will defer to Karen. Karen and Jerry will be leading the presentation for you all today. And then, of course, I'm here to support questions as they come up. So take her away, Karen.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Just a reminder for folks, if you're not remembering who I am, Karen Cooper, Executive Director for Clinical Operations for the rural sites represented in the room. I'm also covering for Kathy Dool, who is participating in bargaining this year. So I will cover her sites as well. If we could pull up the slideshow, that would be amazing. And so why we're here today is to bring forward the 26-27 capital investments and really, showcase the 25-26 and just how we're collectively impacting the health and wellness of the folks that we're serving. So if we could go, I guess I've got the controller. I'll go back to where I need to be. I do want to gratefully acknowledge that the investments we're talking about today impact specifically 4 of our 7 nations, that being the Nk'K'lepen, the Secwepemc, the Statliam, and the Silks. And I'm very grateful to be here. I'm joined, I've got the control. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague from Royal Inland, Jerry, and you met Dan Goffner. And I love that you dropped the executive in front of our director titles, Chair O'Reilly. So we will have a little humor as we go through the day. You will note this year's presentation has been intentionally updated. And that's because we don't want to just talk about the numbers. We want to talk about the people and the impact that these projects have on the people that we both collectively serve. And so you will still see the numbers on each of the items that we're talking about, but we're really hoping to bring home the why and the how that this is impacting. We're very, very appreciative of the TRHD's important role in funding healthcare services. And each of the capital expenses that we're going to talk about today have been carefully vetted through our internal process according to what our data tells us, what the trends in healthcare are, as well as the input from our very important physicians and staff. And these have been brought forward then to address the most urgent needs in our system. So in addition to the 26-27 items for consideration, we'll also do a bit of an update on what was funded last year. So for the numbers piece, just a reminder that these investments directly support people across the care continuum, whether we're talking about our seniors in long-term care or the children in our pediatric wards, whether it's patients relying on cancer and surgical care. And these numbers represent the entire IH-wide investment. So entire capital investment across Interior Health last year was $241 million. of which the various, I think there are 7 regional hospital districts. There are contributed 90.1, and specifically the Thompson Regional Hospital District investment of 7.3. So with that, we're hoping a bit of a video to showcase last year's investment will work for us from a technology point of view. So I'll just pause for that to be played.
Our sincere thanks to Interior Health Regional Hospital District partners for your support in 2025. Combined, the 7 regional hospital districts in the Interior Health region contributed nearly $241 million, an incredible investment in the health and well-being of our communities. Your support has made a real difference. Without it, important upgrades to safety systems, digital infrastructure, facilities, staff spaces, and patient care areas simply would not have been possible. For this year's investments, Interior Health has reviewed our capital priorities to make sure our healthcare facilities can continue supporting the people who rely on them. We have looked at our buildings, equipment, and systems that care teams use every day, and we are investing where it is needed most. With your continued support, patients, residents, families, and staff can count on high-quality care today and into the future. Thank you for your support last year. We look forward to our continued partnerships in the year ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go back into presentation mode. Thank you for that. So I do want to speak specifically to some of the projects in rural, and then Jerry's going to speak to specifically to the projects at Royal Inland. These are projects that are completed. So looking first at Lillooet Hospital, and really pleased to talk about the 2 upgrades. Both of these systems are nurse call system. So when you're a patient in the bed and you need the nurse and you're ringing the button, it sure is nice to know that someone on the other end is actually getting that notification. Or if you're the nurse at the bedside and you need an extra set of hands to provide care, it's really nice to know that when you ring for help, someone's going to be coming. And so really grateful for the reliability of that system upgrade. As well as we had an elevator out of commission for quite some time. It was at end of life, and we're happily able to report that that upgrade is complete and has really, as you can see, the manager indicating, reduced the amount of travel time that having that be down impacted us. Over to you, Jay.
Thank you, Karen. And I will just quickly introduce myself, Jerry Desolé, Executive Director, Royal Inland Hospital. Appreciate the time that you give me to be here. So the BC Cancer Centre has started construction. It's all obviously early days. We're going and celebrating the start of getting underway and understanding that we're also getting the things underway and working on that. We'll continue to update as progress comes on, but I just wanted to say that the first big crane will be going in the next week. So that'll be something exciting that people can actually visualize, but there's been a lot of groundworks underway in securing the retaining wall. So lots of work underway, continue to work with our oncologists to plan for the construction within the renovations in the building and doing that construction project. So we are moving forward quite well with that. Oh, you got it? Okay, thank you. Another partially completed is Royal Inland Hospital Phase 2 renovations. That were completed last year in the late summer and fall. One's a new medical imaging recovery area, so people getting medical imaging procedures now have a new space to get care and for staff to work out of. Our morgue expansion, we are the main morgue for the city, and that has been expanded, and we're continuing on with Phase 2 work, which will hopefully be done later this year. And really exciting was the Tech Emergency Department, our mental health and substance use area. So that is a dedicated area to mental health patients where they can get private care and really maintain their dignity and give them supports they need, not being in hallways, not being in a dark spot of but really an open space. And I know the staff are very excited about having a window and that, so getting outside light. So it's been a huge investment and really powerful to show that we're really taking mental health seriously, because it is something many of us deal with and we need help with that. We'll switch back to Karen for this one.
So back in Lillooet again, it's been nearly a year since the new X-ray equipment has been operational and serving patients with the most updated digital imaging that we can provide. And very soon after, we were able to provide the same equipment for Dr. Helmkin in Clearwater. The difference you'll see in the funding totals comes down to the installation and any of the minor improvements we need to make to the building to house the new equipment. But it definitely is leading to clearer imaging and faster diagnoses. So we're very excited to have those 2 new units in place. So I'll pass things back to Jerry.
Apologies, we're jumping back and forth a little bit to make it easier on each of us, but this is kind of more overall, just our Thompson Regional Health Hospital District. Obviously, the total population served is 164,617, about 5,800 plus staff to help support those patients, 27 healthcare facilities, 4 hospitals, 6 long-term care facilities. Wanted to speak of some of the recruitment. Obviously, nursing staffing and other staff is always a very big piece of conversation. And we've increased by 26% our employees from 15,147 up to over 19,000 over the last 5 years. Increasing physicians, 16% in full-time equivalent positions for physicians, and 29% increase for physician contracts. So also lots of good work, people wanting to come to the community to support us. We need those people. Post-pandemic, we really struggled with staff, and really seeing the upward swing and really working closely with our partners to make sure there is staff and physicians to care for people. There's another depiction of some of the spend we've done the past little while. So Lillooet, $294,000 budget. The RHD supported $118,000 of that. Chase was a $3.3 million budget, and the RHD funded $522,000. And Kamloops, of course, having the bulk, is $9.7 million with $2.7 million funded by the RHD. Just want to include that this does not include IHY digital health investments and equipment under $1,000. And we know there's a lot of support for that as well that really helps us do our work. Investment themes. So there's lots of different pieces that we're trying to fund. If we look at clinical systems, that's protecting and modernizing core clinical systems that are essential to patient care, life safety and emergency response, ensuring they remain reliable, routine operations and critical events. Infrastructure, of course, is making sure our utilities and buildings are state-of-the-art and up to speed. A lot of our buildings are aging, so there's a lot of money that has to go into that, whether it's HVAC systems or things, to make sure that we're meeting CSA standards as they move forward. Safe care environments, making sure it's safe for patients to receive care, making sure it's safe for our workers to provide that care. Digital health, of course, as we're embarking into the future. Electronic medical records is a big piece of that, and other nuances of digital health that helps us provide care timely and with many options to improve that. And of course, equipment, the tools that we need to provide the best care we can to the patients of our communities and ensure that they are receiving state-of-the-art care with the most technology up to date, because our patients deserve it and our physicians want it, as do our staff. Next, we'll go into the 26-27 highlighted projects for the Thompson Regional Hospital District. Then I'll switch to Karen again.
So remembering that these are the projects that we're bringing forward for consideration today. So just to level set us. And so the Chasen District Healthcare Center has a generator that's very much not enough power for that site. And so we really do want to upgrade it for a couple of reasons. One, the fuel for the current generator is underground and does pose environmental risk. And we certainly heard that being a priority for the hospital district to think about us going greener. So the new generator is more fuel efficient, can more reliably keep all of the site services going in the event of a power outage. As we move to more digital systems, of course, our power becomes really important. And in 2023, when Chase was under the evacuation alert for so long, there were power outages, and we were able to just keep up, but this will certainly increase the amount of fuel storage in the case of a lengthy power outage. So really, really hoping for consideration of that important project. Overlander Extended Care, so that's our 183-bed long-term care site here in Kamloops, and this is really about upgrading the environmental control system. So our building management system is what we term it, but it really is about heating and cooling and keeping our residents comfortable, as well as what we've learned through the pandemic. This is a site that still has multi-bed rooms. And so the air filtration system on this new system will really help from an infection prevention and control perspective, and really protecting our most vulnerable folks. So bringing that forward. And back to Lillooet again. And so this has been on the books for quite a number of years, the upgrade we want to do to our emergency department. The Lillooet Hospital was definitely designed in an era where open nursing units and patients all around with just curtains around them was the way we designed departments. But we do know that we have an obligation for our staff safety. And so these upgrades will, both to our medical unit nursing station as well as the ED nursing station, will put up plexiglass and provide them that safe space. We are seeing more aggression in our clientele, and so we really, really want to be able to provide that level of safety both to the medical unit as well as the emergency department. And really for our long-term care site as well. As you're trying to leave and enter the building, right now it's a numerical key code. So we want to put a card swipe. So you just really tap and go, and that again just enhances the speed of access, which can be a real safety boon for our staff. So with that, I think I'm back to you, Jerry.
Thank you. Yeah, so a few things we're looking to do this year at Royal Inland Hospital. One is the reverse osmosis heat and sterilization system. That's really for our renal dialysis unit and supporting the work they do there. It's replacing the aging system that was put in 2016 and is due for replacement in 2026. This new system will be enhanced with virtual monitoring systems, alarms, and a modern disinfection system, which will lower the risk of contamination and reduce harmful chemical exposure to staff. Other one we're looking at is the medical resonance imaging machine, MRI, as is well known, and it's a safe way to use painless tests that might use magnetic fields rather than radiation. This is actually replacing all the interior pieces of the MRI machine, and it's actually comes in cheaper than doing a full replacement of the machine. So it is trying to keep the price down, but also giving us basically a brand new machine, just in the case of the old one. The cost of project will be spread over 2 years. So you will see this year and a request for next year. So additional funding will be requested. And did want to highlight the RH Foundation is contributing $1.6 million towards the total project. So a huge thanks to them for making this project a possibility. The other one on there is automatic endoscopic reprocessors by 4. So this was actually partially approved previously for 2 machines, but when we went through the planning and looking at the pace that this is actually increasing, it made more sense to actually go to 4 machines to make it. And this is basically creating sterilization in the unit, and it has a pass through. So one side will be the dirty side, and it comes through to the other side to hose it, and proper sterilization storing for those scopes before they see patients. So it is a huge improvement for patient care, as well as making sure that people that are getting screenings for colon cancer and such are getting it with the best equipment in the most efficient way. So there is, as I said, it was approved, and there is an increase of this ask. Basically, the full budget is 2.4 million and we're asking for 764,000. And I did want to highlight that the RH Foundation is supporting some of the equipment for 490,000. So this ask actually comes at 29.5% ask rather than the 37 or 40% that we know we get from you if you approve. Other one I want to highlight is ERCP. So that's endoscopic retrograde cholangiopancreatography. Almost got it out. We'll just say ERCP. It really supports our gastroenterologists, and maybe putting anything that has gallbladder issues or pancreas issues, they can actually put a scope in there. There was previous request that was put forward back in December for budget for this to do planning. But as we work through this, we realized we don't need to do a major planning for it due to the scope of the project. So that ask is coming off the table for the TRHD. This is a really important piece of work that our gastroenterologists are really trying hard to recruit new specialized gastroenterologists. And this is a very specialized skill that some people have, and they really do need this suite to provide that care. So we are moving forward with this, and did want to say the RH Foundation and donors are really supporting this work going forward. So we're still in the works of what that will exactly look like, but we are planning on moving this forward with their support. So again, huge thanks to them. For the 26-27 digital health projects, so this is really around investing in modern, reliable digital systems, strengthening clinical and business operations, including upgrades to infrastructure, data center equipment, cybersecurity firewalls, and imaging system servers. Obviously, we hear a lot of things in the news about firewalls being breached and things, and this is a way to keep all of our data safe and all of your data safe as users of the system. Looking at adding a Meditech surgical module in, and basically we have old antiquated equipment and looking to upgrade that and having modernized surgical systems. It creates an old platform with more integrated and cost-effective solutions centered around the Meditech surgical module, which is our electronic medical record. And did want to highlight here that the ask is 1.5 million with RHD request of 606,000. And just wanted to share that that is the represents the TRG proportionate share of the IH-wide cost based on population. So basically this is an IH-wide region thing. So each TRG based on their population is getting asked a percentage of it. So it will help all systems within IH, but that's just want to be clear on that and what the ask is and what that number came from. And I'll move to the Rural Emergency Department project for Karen.
Yeah, thanks. And you may recall the last time I was here, I did a presentation on our in-person and virtual emergency department project in Interior Health. And so I'll give a bit of an update on that, how that project's going, as well as why we're bringing forward an ask to have these two sites join the electronic medical record. And so you heard Jerry refer to it as Meditech. Royal Inland is a fully electronic medical record site already. This represents the first opportunity for some of our rural sites to also go fully electronic. And we really realize through these virtual and in-person models of care, how important it is that the provider that's providing service remotely has access to that full suite of medical information at their fingertips. So I'm pleased to report on December 8th, we soft launched the project. And what does soft launch mean? If you recall, our eventual goal is to get where the one in-person site is covering 3 other sites virtually each night. For the month of December to January, we had one in-person provider covering their site plus 1 other site, just to get a sense of what it's like to provide care remotely. It's been incredibly successful. We're averaging about 3 visits a night in the in-person hospital site and about 2 in the one additional site that they're covering virtually, for a total of 5 visits a night. And the staff are really pleased about the volume and the ability to provide that safe, reliable care. The impact, though, of being on a paper chart system is there is a lot of faxing and forms to fill out, and it's just more of an administrative burden. So luckily for us, our digital health team has the capacity for us to move to these 2 rural sites of Lillooet and Clearwater being on a fully electronic medical record. So it will support the ongoing success of this project, as well as bring those sites into the modern age with our Royal Inland already being there. So that's the project in a nutshell. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any of my speaking notes. So as far as when we're progressing to the other sites, so our February schedule will move then to the one in-person provider, covering now the 3 additional sites, given the success of the project to date. I'm happy to report no single ED diversions during the launch of the project, and patient safety and provider satisfaction remains high. So with that, I think I'm back to you. Sorry for all the back and forth, but.
Great. Next one for our Royal London Hospitals, our Ken Leppin Theatre, basically replacing the audiovisual equipment, 109,043.6 for the request here. This is a space that we use for a lot of our events, so a lot of our physician events, clinical education, career exploration days and things like that. So it is a very important space. Our foundation uses a lot to hold their board meetings and such. So it is an area that we have that is a larger space that we can really get a lot of use out of. It is very important for us to help support our staff and give people space for education. Into the remaining investments and requests, these are still over 100,000. So one is, this is a lot of, the next 2 are for the lab. So one is the DI-60 Cella Vision System. Basically, nuts and bolts of this helps physicians and lab staff quickly analyze blood samples. It automatically performs part of the complete blood count, which is a common test used to check for infections, anemia, and other health conditions. Instead of looking through a microscope by hand, the system scans and stores digital images of blood cells. And the images can be reviewed remotely, creating efficiencies for quicker diagnoses and reduced wait times for patients and clients. And a MALDI TOF mass spectrometer at Royal London Hospital. This is another lab tool that quickly identifies bacteria and fungi by reading the unique protein fingerprints. Instead of waiting days for additional tests, this machine can provide results in minutes to hours. So both these machines really help us provide faster care to our patients, faster diagnosis, so people get treatment in a faster way, which of course supports patients. The faster you get treated and the proper diagnosis, the faster you can get better. Next, we're under 100,000 list. So there's a few things. So one is the automatic transfer switch replacement. Basically, so our Hillside, our tertiary mental health center, this will ensure reliable backup power on site, safeguarding patients during a power outage. So same thing, just as a way to ensure power stays on. Access control to inpatient units. This is make sure that they have proper intercoms and scanning in and out. So basically security for the unit. As we open the Ghilardi Tower, we do have these in place there, and this is to take the main building older units to the same level. So this allows us to make sure people get access. As Karen said, a lot of our hospitals are seeing more aggression in things, and sometimes we do need to keep people safe and people out. So this allows us to see who's coming in, as well as it allows us to keep people in. So if you have dementia and you're wandering, you need to be in hospital, and this also helps people keep on the unit so they're not going out and getting injured. And then other global grant equipment. As in previous years, we were requiring global funding amount for the purchase of equipment valued under 100,000, and we'll provide details of the specific items in which communities are once priorities have been confirmed for the coming year. So we are still finalizing those. We do ensure that we talk to all the areas within TRHD to make sure every site is getting something, and trying to make sure that not one site gets more. So we ask all the teams to come forward with their top priority, and if we can get to the top priority, move to the second. And our foundation is also very supportive in picking off items of that to allow us to spend more with the fantastic donors that are willing to support our communities. So the capital funding request for 26-27 of the Thompson Regional Hospital District is $6.2 million. The inherent capital budget is 18.4. So I just wanted to, really thank all of you for your support over the previous years, and as we move forward, you make us be able to do our work and provide the care we need to do to our public. And also want to support or thank the foundation. I know Dylan's here, Heidi couldn't be here today from the foundation, just the support they do and a lot of projects that they're moving forward, sometimes with your support, sometimes without, but it really helps us move into the future to provide the care we need to do for our patients. So next steps and closing remarks, just again, thank you very much for hearing our presentation today. We hope this has helped, this new kind of way has helped paint a different picture than just kind of going line by line. Hopefully it was helpful to get a bit more understanding of what it is and how it affects our teams and our staff and our patients. And just with IH and RHC's protect the health system with communities rely on today and in the future. We look forward to taking your questions to help in any deliberations of our funding requests. And if you should require additional information, to support budget approval, we're happy to return next meeting for follow-up questions and discussions. And with that, I'll hand it back to you, Chair O'Reilly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you very much for that presentation. I have 3 people on the speakers list right now, but I just want to make sure the board's aware we aren't voting on this today. That'll be at our next meeting. This was to get an understanding of what the actual ask is. It's one thing to see it on paper, but to actually understand what this is going to do for our communities in our region and to ask any questions. So I will start with Director Karpuk, then Birch, Jones, O'Reilly. Thank you, Karpuk.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation today, the 3 of you. Couple of quick questions, maybe they're not quick. With regards to e-records, are these records that would be accessible across all health districts within IH and other health authorities within the province? Or do we have technology where you can't read it if you're in Northern Health or you're in Coastal Health? Or I'm just curious, do we have cross-jurisdictional compatibility with this choice? And I have a follow-up if I may.
Yeah, so our electronic record right now, Meditech, so it would allow us within our health authority for electronic sites, so we could see what's happening in Clearwater, but we do not have yet the ability to connect with other health authorities. I know there was provincial work happening on that, but we don't have an answer yet from the province on a direction for that piece.
Supplemental.
Yeah, supplemental on that. I'm pretty sure we're all aware that sometimes we're seeing medevacs to Vancouver for emergency situations. So we're probably doing some sort of alternate method to get them information at VGH or St. Paul's or something. I'm assuming, but hopefully we'll get there where we can all speak the same language and the same coding.
Amen to that. And so you may have seen an announcement that the Provincial Health Services Authority is moving to a shared services organization model, and digital health will then become not just a regional entity, but a provincial one. And certainly a provincial EMR is in all of our best interests. And at this point, I can say that Fraser Health is also on Meditech, so at least we're using the same system. But the seamless transfer of information as a province is the ultimate goal. The reason I step forward is just to have one other point, is that Meditech, our electronic medical record, is what feeds the My Health portal that we hope everyone signs up to, so that you can actually see your own medical record and get those results. And I can tell you from personal experience of moving loved ones between health authorities for care, that being able to pull it up on my phone was integral to the success of that visit in another health authority. So at the very least, the My Health portal allows you to have your medical record at your fingertips when you seek care elsewhere.
Thank you for that. My last question has to do with all of the replacement used equipment, and whether it's a generator or the AV equipment you mentioned that's going to be in the area of RIH here. We've got ultrasonicators, I think, that we're replacing for our gastroenterologists. We've got X-ray equipment we've pulled out. Do we ever get anything or any extra value? I mean, we have a perfectly good used generator system that Director Lepso's Chase Clinic is going to have. Do we look at ways to repurpose them or seek some value when we pull them out? Because I know there are other regions and other communities across, not just our health area, that may not have a generator that might run a community hall in the middle of a rural Indigenous band that might be beneficial. Do we have a way to bring value to other areas from these used piece of equipment? I guess is my question.
I don't know, Dan, if you have info on that.
Sure, yeah, I can jump in there. I know for some of the clinical equipment, depending with which vendor, they do sometimes offer a credit for return or trade-in on the piece of equipment, so we get value against the price of the new equipment, which of course we factor into the cost estimates when budgeting for, and the credit would apply to what we then request from the RHDs as well. For some of that infrastructure, equipment. I might need to check with our plant team on what they do with that. I agree with you. I think if there's still value left, it's worth looking at where and how it can be used elsewhere. I'm just not sure I know the specifics on that, so that can be a takeaway for me.
Yeah, and I just add, I know sometimes we do, like, there was a fume hood for making cancer medications in Williams Lake that was brought down to RH and vice versa. So we do when it is viable. I think sometimes we use equipment as very long as we absolutely can. And so sometimes it is very much end of life when we're replacing it, but we do definitely try to look at that for sure to see how we can reuse it. We don't want to throw something away that's still good for sure.
Thank you. Director Birch Jones.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a big fan of reduce, reuse, recycle. I just assume we do that as much as we can. I also have to say kudos to the foundation, amazing contributions from them. I was really hoping to hear an update on how the remote medical care was going in our smaller centers, and so thank you very much, Executive Director Cooper. That was appreciated, and I'm surprised we didn't have the digital records sort of sorted right at the get-go with that, but it's extremely good news that we are getting that operational now. And it sounds like slow progress, but progress. Thank you. One thing I saw, and kudos to people for getting all of those extra frontline workers on staff. That is huge. And we definitely have seen some of the benefits of that here. I would appreciate if we had some sense of how the administrative costs are comparing to the frontline staff. Like we don't get a sort of balance there in these reports. And of course, I'm concerned about, the administrative layers being a bit too top heavy as compared to frontline workers. I'm always pleased to see that we're getting, for example, more nurses and techs and the people that are actually providing the service. I'd like to see a bit more of that comparison in some of the reports that we get at this board. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Director Birch Jones. I see a lot of nodding coming back from behind the podium. Thank you. I'm next on the speakers list. 3 questions, just in and around the slide where you had the contributions. And I know you've mentioned the foundation a couple of times today, but I think it would be very powerful to show how much the foundation's actually contributing, because we have all the funders, but no numbers for the foundation. So I think that would be a good thing for the people in the region to know where that money is coming from. I note too that there seems to be a fair amount of replacements, but not so much new equipment. And as we're building and having new spaces, that it's not new equipment, a lot of replacements or upgrades. And so wondering where new equipment is coming along. And to Executive Director Derelitz, just in and around the emergency room and how renovations are going there. If you could touch more on that. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So some for equipment, so some new stuff would be our hybrid OR that we're currently on. I think we requested money last year for that. We're still in the planning phases to get the blueprints and that. The physicians were working quite closely to get the fluoro machine that they want. So now that we have that, so that'll be brand new equipment put into our ORs in the Glardy Tower. The ERCP machine we're talking about, that will be a new equipment. So there is stuff within that. And unfortunately, a lot of it is replacement. Our emergency department renovations are going very well. We're currently on phase 3 of 4 total phases. We lumped 2 and 5 together. This one will be done, I think, July of this summer. And this one has been challenging for the teams. This is where our monitored beds are and where inpatients are held. And that's been really tight. They've lost, I think, 7 or 8 beds. So working around that. But the team through this last 3 years has always come up to the table and worked really hard on this. And when we hit these respiratory surge times, like right now when our occupancy goes quite high, they're highly impacted and they struggle, but I know they're all excited for what will come. And then the last phase will be the trauma bays. And that will be basically from this summer to the spring, I think, of 2028, I think. So yeah, so we're getting close there, and we're basically 2/3 of the way through that renovation, and I know our teams are very happy, and each phase that opens is very exciting for the teams.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just add a process piece for your question, Chair O'Reilly, in that that is our top priority is urgent replacement. And then the emerging or new need requests come in after that. And I think our presentation highlights a lot of urgent replacement because there tend to be the more expensive projects that you saw. But in that very last slide, the under 100,000 equipment, the majority of that is new equipment. Sometimes it's to replace and sometimes it's because it supports the way we provide care in a modern world, such as bedside ultrasounds. You know, we used to send everybody down to the diagnostic imaging department for that. Now we're purchasing those so that they can be right at the hands of the ER docs and those kind of new equipment pieces. And lastly, I'll just make space for Dan around that prioritization piece and really the transparency around our aging infrastructure.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. It certainly is featuring more heavily replacements and needing to deal with infrastructures. You've probably seen we've replaced more generators in the last few years than we've seen in a while. So definitely our aging infrastructure is creating pressure and needs to be addressed sort of at the top of our list in order to sustain our services and keep things moving along. So that is, I think, why you're seeing that featured. But certainly, you know, new equipment, expansion, addressing growth in volumes, it is part of the conversation. And I think when we do our prioritization, we're trying to balance the urgent need of replacement and what we know we need is new to address those demands. So they factor in the conversations, and I'm hopeful that once we sort of get through a lot of the infrastructure, we may be in a better position to go further down the list, so to speak. But for this year, certainly it has featured a lot more heavily.
Thank you. Director Demare.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a couple of comments and then 2 questions, if I may. Thank you very much for the presentation. You know, a couple of meetings back, I mentioned asset management and to bring a report at some point with asset management, and you hit it right on the head. And you know, we do have some replacements here on timelines, and I'm sure there's others. So it's really good to see. And the package that you presented, I think, was very well thought out, and it's really good. The presentation hit it on the head where you had the circle there and showed the various categories. I've got one question, and that's on digital health, and kind of works with that emergency department too, with the digital records, is cancer care and how cancer care fits in with digital health. And my other question is on the planning tables, the health planning tables that all of a sudden disappeared on us. And I'm wondering, you know, they were supposed to come back, but we haven't seen that yet. And I think they're critical, especially for the rural areas. Thank you.
Yeah, for the cancer care, so they do use Cerner. They use a different system than IH uses. So that is something we'll have to work through. But I also know that in Kelowna, they use the same system. So KGH and the Kelowna Cancer have to have the same issue, the same division, and people still get good care, and people still get good care here, even though it's on different systems. So we are working, as we said earlier, about provincial, trying to balance those. But yes, as the BC Cancer comes into the Kamloops Cancer Center, they will be on a different EMR than RH is. So we will look at ways to work with that and make sure that obviously we're always linked very closely, because even in that set, we'll still have interior health surgeons doing work with patients that are cancer patients. So we always work very closely with them. I have very close contacts with BC Cancer around this project. So we will work through that, and is something that was highlighted that we're working with them with the pharmacy and different pieces. So that's always a top of mind of how do we link those systems and make sure the patients' seamless care is the most important thing for us.
Yeah, thank you for the question about health tables. I absolutely endorse the health tables and recognize that many of them have stood down over the past few years. The governance of the local health planning tables is usually a partnership between divisions of family practice, municipal leaders, as well as Interior Health, potentially nation partners and the First Nation Health Authority. The capacity, has been a challenge, but I'm really happy to report very robust tables. I highlight Director Roden, the Hawk table in Ashcroft as a gold standard, and very thrilled that the refresh of the Lytton Health Planning table and its first meeting last month, as well as next week, are up and running again. I know Logan Lake has managed to carry on through, but I'm curious if there's a specific community that where the table hasn't revived, if there's anything I can do to support that.
Chair, if I may. Yeah, the Littlewood Health Planning Table.
Yeah, so thank you. I just wanted to verify that, Councillor Demare. And so in meetings with the mayor as well as her CAO, Interior Health is meeting monthly and really looking towards what the membership around that could look like. I know we've tackled a few specific issues with just that small audience. So I'll just commit in this forum to reaching out to to share where that expansion of that table can go from here, but the intention is to see it revive.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we have Director Middleton, R. Smith, and Grenier to close. Director Middleton.
Thank you. Thank you for your report. I just have a question on what was submitted to us is on item number 3, and I'm going to the ERCP. So just a couple of things. One is I am not too sure what length and pronunciation of words qualifies for the National Spelling Bee, but I'm thinking the however you pronounce might be a good word for submission to them. But just on the report, it shows that there had originally been a $500,000 budget for a study that is no longer required. So it would appear this initiative is going forward, but that $500,000 is not required. Had our board contributed to that $500,000 study? Is that $500,000 just built into what is now the cost of progressing with this? Like, where did the $500,000 land in the end? Is this still being spent, or have we got a credit coming somewhere? What's the scoop on that? Thanks.
Dan's hand up. I'll let our finance lead answer that one.
Dan?
Yes, happy to take that one. Very good question. So normally with projects of a certain size, scope, and cost, if it's of a certain dollar amount really is at the end of the day, government requires Interior Health to produce a business plan for that project so that they can review and ultimately approve it for us to move forward on. So for the ERCP, we had originally anticipated it to be of a certain dollar cost and of a certain scope that would necessitate a business plan to be done. And so often what we'll do is we'll do the sort of pre-planning work to figure all that out and prepare that business plan, which can sometimes be costly because we're bringing in consultants to do some work and produce that final business plan. For ERCP, as we started to sort of dig into it, and really just over the last little bit, I think we maybe overestimated previously what was involved and how large it could be. So it still necessitates a business plan for us to complete, but it's going to be much easier for us to do without expending that additional cost. So it's something that we think we can do within the resources that we have now. So therefore, we don't need to request funding support from the RHD to do that planning work. So we'll still do it. So it'll take a little bit of time before we know exactly what we're looking at in the details and the cost. But and so we will then see soon what that looks like, timelines and like, and potentially coming back with the RHD with a funding request there. But for now, we can essentially withdraw that. So I can connect with the admin staff on your end to figure out how we accomplish that and essentially reduce our request that's in front of you today.
Thank you. Director Smith?
Thank you, Chair. So for the District of Logan Lake, we've had a high turnover of staff. We often don't meet with the same people twice. It's really hard to get familiar and build trust and be able to depend on what you're being told. We were quite some time ago told that we were sort of in the lineup and kind of waiting for what's been happening in Chase before we would see much in terms of improvements in our own facility in Logan Lake. So I just wanted to say we're very, very happy that we are getting some stability in the staffing up there. It's very, very welcome. It's been many gaps over a long period of time. So I am optimistic in that sense, but I do think that the facility upgrades also have to happen to be able to keep those people in place. So my question is, where are we? Thank you.
Good to see you again. And I'm one of those people that have turned over. So I do remember your marmot issue and your siding issue. I think we've rectified those. So feel very positive about that. So that's under Kathy Dool's area. So I'm definitely happy to take that question back, as well as to our plant people. No, it's still under Kathy. Yeah. But I do know your manager turnover has been significant and absolutely acknowledge that. So, Jenny, let's jot that down for some follow-up conversation to see what plant services has in the queue. Unless, Dan, you have any awareness of Logan Lake in the moment, certainly committed to following up and making sure we circle back on that.
Yeah, I think that's what we probably need to do, Karen. I think they'll be able to give us, though, that clearly is sort of how they see things lining up. So that'll be a takeaway, and we can bring that back to our next update for the board.
Thank you. And lastly, Director Grenier.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm not quite sure where to direct this question, whether it's to you or to the staff here, but it's on the cancer center. And in our December minutes, we talked about, I'll just quickly read it here. On question, CFO Fox noted that although the provisional budget will be prepared early, the board will have the opportunity, if they choose, to include provisions in the budget for an additional floor at the Kamloops Cancer Care Center before adoption in March. And Chair O'Reilly stated that the TRHD is a minority partner and confirmed the province is aware of TRHD's willingness to allocate its share. So we've heard that there's a crane going to be delivered. I don't know if there's a distinction between the building permit and the excavation permit, or whether the building permit's been issued or not. But we've written letters to the province saying, we'd really like to know about this additional floor capability. And since we're entering into the construction side, I think it's becoming imminent that we need an answer on that and action on that. So I don't know if you can answer that question, or the folks here can answer the question.
Thank you. I can take it at this point. We have received no further information or interest from the provincial government, from either Ministry of Health or Ministry of Infrastructure. And we have made those requests, and Merlin and I, or Director Blackwell and I, brought that up in our meeting when we were down in Victoria. And there wasn't the appetite, even with our funding contribution, to be there as well. And that is the last we have heard anything on that. So nothing has changed from a provincial government commitment side.
And so supplemental to that, sir, do you know if we have a construction permit for the building, or is it an excavation, or is it just simply to erect the crane? Do you know where we are in that municipal process for application?
I don't off the top of my head know that the Ellis Dawn now leading that is requesting all those. But I know that all that is in the works as part of this pre-planning to get all that done. So I don't know if Dan, if you have anything else you can add to that, but it's really, we've contracted the company to do all those pieces, and I know they are working with the city to get those things in place if they aren't already.
So Chair, I don't know if, I recognize there's a beating a dead horse aspect to this, but we are really at a point where we're pouring concrete, and that opportunity is still before us. And it seems like it's a reasonable one. This board got behind that. And I think we need those questions answered, at least on the dimensions, on the size, and the potential cost.
Yes, understood, certainly, Director Grenier, and I think as well, we're in a difficult position, being a very large minority partner in this, in the sense this isn't a normal TRHD funding request that we're doing for this. I believe we're partners in at around the 20% mark, give or take, opposed to our normal 37 to 40%, given that it's PHSA that's paying for all of the cancer components. And so that's it doesn't really help us in the negotiating side. We can follow up again with a letter to ministers, but again, they have been very firm at this point, and that's everything we've heard back from government is what this board is aware of.
Is there an appetite by this board to continue pursuing that issue?
I see dear CEO Hildebrand, and then if you feel like you would like to make a motion, we can do that. CEO Hildebrand.
Thank you, Chair O'Reilly. Just as a follow-up to the minister meeting that we had in Victoria, when yourself and Director Blackwell talked to the ministry, staff also followed up with us saying that it wasn't something that they were willing to explore. So that's kind of where we just left it, but leave it up to the board and follow up.
Thank you. Do you have an initiative you'd like to put forward, Director Grenier, or where are we at?
I don't want to continue on something that the board doesn't want, but I think it's useful to put at least a motion out there so that we can vote on it. And that motion would be that we write whoever it is that we're writing to get a response prior to the construction start, I guess, on the answer of the additional cost for an additional floor that we have indicated that we would be interested in participating in. And I think that we would ask for a response to that, given the construction schedule, very soon, so that we can at least have an answer definitively for our constituents that that is no longer being entertained by our province, or is being entertained by our province. That's a big, long motion. Can somebody help parse that?
Corporate Officer Jeremiah.
Would you be inclined to a resolution that would be that the board send a letter to the Ministry of Health and Infrastructure requesting confirmation of the additional costs for the additional floor for the Cancer Care Center. And sorry, I'm just doing this kind of once again on the fly. And confirm whether the ministry would be inclined to proceed with contribution from the TRHD.
Prior to the
In advance of
commencement of construction, because of the urgency. Is that something, Chair, that you think is a reasonable?
We can certainly pen a letter off if that's the will of the board at this point. I don't suspect the answer will be any different, but certainly we can pen that off and have a request from the ministers. And it may be at a point on the Cancer Center as well that we can ask for an update as to where things are at. As we know, permits have been pulled and there's a lot of stuff happening on the site. And that could be something in general we can ask for, but we don't need to include in the letter.
So I'll make that motion so that we can at least as a board vote on that.
So knowing the answer, I will second it just because I want them to have to know how angry we are.
Okay, thank you. Second by Director Bass, and I have Director Demare online.
Can I make a comment?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Can I make a comment?
On the motion that's on the floor, absolutely.
Yeah, would it not be more feasible to ask if the building structure itself is capable of having another floor added on down the road? Have we inquired about that yet?
We could maybe add that into the letter if that's a friendly amendment that may be accepted by the mover and the seconder. Director Grenier?
My only answer to that is the building hasn't been built, so we don't have to amend a existing building. It's considerably more money to build a floor onto an existing building than it is to build it into a building that is not yet constructed. So I think we're at the stage where we should be continuing to press for our participation in that additional floor for that piece of equipment that everybody has been asking for. So I would suggest that we don't make that amendment. That's a question we could ask once the building is built.
Okay, so seeing that it doesn't seem like it's being accepted as a friendly amendment, Director Demare, if there's something you'd like to make an amendment to the motion on the floor, you can put that forward and we can go to a seconder and then have discussion on that if you would like to proceed. Director Demare.
No, I will not proceed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Director Carbuck.
Thank you, Chair. Just hypothetically thinking, have we ever proposed that if they were to put a additional floor on and we said we'd pay for everything on that floor, including a PET CT? Has that ever been floated? I mean, we all know we want it. We keep getting rebuffed and turned down and ignored. But I'm just curious, have we ever said, look, we're certain we need this. If you let us build an additional floor, we'll pay for that and the PET CT. I don't know where we're at with that, and it's not something I've been privy to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this board hasn't had that discussion. I think for that would require a significant amount of work to come up with what a business case may look like for that. And would it be more efficient to potentially explore other locations to where a PET CT could be located? And those discussions are live in community right now. There's whether it's an off-site location and frankly, looking at potentially a mobile PET CT, and they are being done in other countries just south of us. In the country just south of us. And so we have been doing research loosely and to say, okay, if this doesn't happen, what are options for a PET CT? And that has been brought up around this board before, but to actually do a business case for a whole second floor, that hasn't been done, or a whole additional floor. And I would think we would need to get a budget and have board approval for that. But that's sort of where it stands for that piece. Okay. Director Blackwell.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, the idea of a separate location has been floated with both ministers as an idea on multiple occasions. It has not seen a bite yet, but I think it was a new idea to them. So I think that is something that is worth pursuing, considering the amount of traction that you do have in community.
I think reminding this, sorry, Director Carpuck.
Just to supplemental to that concept, I'm aware that I believe there is a semi-trailer truck that sits right outside Victoria Hospital that was a mobile MRI and used for multiple years until the outside sites got their own machines. And it now just sits there, same concept, I guess.
Yeah, thank you. And that was my comment for here is that's how we got our first MRI was in the parking lot and the emergency room parking lot at our IH that only came a few days a week till we got it 5 days a week until we actually got one installed. So I don't think we're too far off where we should be looking. So as it stands right now, we have an amendment or a motion on the floor to send a letter to the Ministry of Health and to send a letter to the Ministry of Infrastructure asking for what the cost would be for an additional floor and if the and was that it, Director Graney? I'm sorry, Director Corporate Officer Jeremiah.
It would also be to have the ministry confirm that they would allow for the contribution from the TRHD prior to commencement of the building.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, no one online further discuss, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Contrary minded, seeing none. Oh, sorry, Director Lepso is opposed for the record, please. Thank you. And thank you very much, everyone. Lastly, we will go into 9.3. There is a recommendation in front of us.
Move the recommendation.
Moved by Director Middleton, second by Director Thorpe. All in favor? Contrary minded? Seeing none, that is carried unanimously. New business to be brought forward? Seeing none online. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you in a month or so.